This is the second video in this series. If you haven't done so already, I recommend that you watch the first video since we'll be picking up where that one left off. A link to that video can be found in the description below. Now I'll model the new railing. I want to duplicate a portion of this railing using the copy to another plane command. It works the same as the move to another plane command that I've used previously. But for right now, I want to select this grating, right mouse click, hold down the shift key and select hide to hide that. That'll make things easier to see. Now I'll select the railing and the parts that I want to copy by holding down the shift key while I select the parts, making sure that I also select the bolts to go with them. And I'll also need the safety gate, and I want to copy these plate lugs, making sure to get their bolts as well. Now, with everything selected, I'll right mouse click, copy special to another plane, and we're going to come in here and I'm going to give a control click right at the edge of this member and set the origin to be perpendicular to that out here along the edge of the member. And then coming to the plan, I want to set the X direction along the member and the Y direction out here. And then for the destination, I want to give a control click at the edge of this member, give a point perpendicular to the edge of this member with the X running along this member and the Y out here. And that looks pretty good. Now I want to select the rail that I just copied, including its bolts. Select all of these pieces. And I want to go to my phase manager and I want to add a new phase, 201, that will be called new railing. I then select that and click modify phase to move all of those parts to that phase. Next I'll clear the selection and I'll select these plate lugs. And there's one over here with the bolts, and we'll go up here to our phase manager, select new framing and modify phase to move those parts to the new framing phase. Now I want to come in here and I want to select this plate lug and that plate lug, and then I want to right mouse click, select add to assembly, and we'll add them to this bigger assembly here. I also want to come over to this plate, select it, right mouse click, select assembly, and then add to assembly, and select this channel. Now I want to copy a small portion of this rail over here over to our corner over here to intersect with this rail we just copied. So to do that, I will select my rail members, all the parts. I also want to make sure that I select the lug as well as our splice members here, which are these plates and their bolts. Oops. Sorry. Again, holding down the Shift key while I select all of these. Now I want to right mouse click, copy special to another plane, and I want to select right here at the corner of this member. That's going to be our origin, and I'm going to go to the plan, and I want the X to be perpendicular to that along this member, and the Y will be out here. Then I want to come to here, control click on the edge of this member, go perpendicular to give our destination point. I want the X to be perpendicular along this member and the Y out here. And we can see that copied over. So now I want to take these pieces and I select the piece, then I click on their endpoint, say move, and I select that point and I go to the edge of that new plate. And then we'll delete that cutout, select the end of this, and move to the edge of that plate. And we'll select our toe plate and we'll move it to that point. Now I'll take that plate and this plate and we will add to assembly. We'll add to this assembly here. Now those become a part of that. I also want to take and select all of these pieces that we just copied, including the plates that we just made and part of that other assembly. I want to select all of those, and then we want to go to our phase manager, select new railing and modify phase. Now I want to go to this plate with its lugs, and we're going to go to our phase manager, new framing, and modify phase. And in that one we do not want to attach it to this member because this is an existing member, so that's going to end up being field welded, so it's going to be its own plate. In addition to that, we want to select all of these pieces, including these plates, and we want to hold down the Shift key and double click on one to bring up its properties. We'll hit the check uncheck toggle to untoggle everything, to uncheck everything, and then we're going to change these to 100 and modify. And then for now, let's see here. Let's take, first off, let's delete these two cuts. We no longer need those. And we're going to select, I'm going to hold down the Shift key and select these three members, and then I'm going to hold down the Control key and I'm going to select their endpoints like this. And then I'm going to right mouse click, select move. I'm going to pick up on one, and then we're just going to drag that over here perpendicular a distance just to get those out of the way for right now. And that should tune up our rail for now. I will tweak this rail, and also I need a piece of rail over here, but it's all basically the same thing that I've just been doing here. So I'm going to tweak the rail slightly and get it all finished up, as well as clean up the existing rail where there's pieces that we no longer need, such as this, and the safety gate was actually moved over to here, and there's little pieces that are going to stick out. So we're going to take care of all that and get this rail all fixed up, and then we'll move on to the next part. the railing is all tidied up, so let's move on to the new platform grating. I'll start by adding a new phase in the phase manager. Number 202, new grating. And I want to set that to my current phase. Let's also change the view depth of our plan to make it easier to work with. We'll set the view up to 6 inches. Modify. Next, I want to draw a construction line from the edge of this member to the edge of this member, and then from the midpoint of this construction line up to the edge of that member. And that locates the center of our span. Now I'll go to Steel. Under Steel, I'll shift-click Create Item. And I have a standard for grating, which is here. And I already know what the size of the grating panels are, and the shape has already been created. So I'll click on Shape, I'll click Select, and then I'll select the shape that I'm looking for. And then say OK. And everything else looks good, so I'll click Apply and OK. For the first position, I'll use the intersection of my construction line and the edge of this member. And the second point will be perpendicular to that out here. That will locate the grating. Now the grating is a little low, so we select it, right click, move special, linear, and we're going to move that up the depth of the grating, which is 1.25 inches in the Z direction. Okay. Next, we're going to move it back away from the edge, perpendicular from the edge, 3/8 of an inch. Now, these panels that are created are 10 foot long. So what I want to do is I want to cut the ends of them off here, and with them being items you can do that. So we go to Edit, and I want to use Line Cut, and I want to select this as my member, and I give a control point here and come back perpendicular 1/2 inch, and we'll give our second point perpendicular right here, and then the side that we want to remove is this right side, so we just pick a point there and that side goes away. We then come over to the other end and we do the same thing. Control point, we come over perpendicular 1/2 inch, we go up perpendicular, give a point, and then this time we want to cut the left side. Now I'll copy it. So we copy from this point, then we come down and give a control point here, and then we go straight down from that 1/2 inch. Then we copy it again by giving another control point at this edge, and then come down 1/2 inch. And then I can see here that I need to trim this corner, this area right here, because it interferes with the existing grating. So the way that I'll do that is we'll pick polygon cut. I can go back to my nearest bearing bar, which is here, and we will select, this is the panel that we're going to cut, and I'll give a point here, and I'll give a point out here, we'll say 3 inches. We'll come back to here. Now let's see here, we'll come back to here and go up to 3 inches and then middle click to end the command. And then that cuts that out of there. And there's the new platform grating. Now is the time to change the original platform into an existing platform. This not only changes its appearance in the model, but it will also change the part and assembly marks to make it easier to filter on the drawings and reports. Since everything has been organized using Phase Manager, it's relatively simple to modify it. Here's how I do it. I'll open up the Phase Manager and select my first phase, which is existing new framing, and objects by phase. And you can see it selects all of the objects on that phase. I then shift double click on one of the members. Then I click on the check uncheck toggle to uncheck everything, and then I can start making the changes. The parts go D&D for, and that stands for do not detail. Start number will be 1. The assembly will be uppercase D&D, and the name will be existing framing. The profile we don't want to change. The material we're going to select, and the material we want to use is 0 density so that the weight is not a factor, and the class is going to be changed to 1. And with that, we can click modify, and everything has now been changed. I then do this for the existing vertical brace, the next one. We select objects by phase, and I can use all of the same things here, except I'm going to change the name to be existing bracing. Modify. Then we can select ladder, objects by phase, which selects the ladder, and also the safety gate was on there, and the safety gate we are reusing on this project. So that can go to existing ladder, modify, and then the railing, objects by phases, all the existing railing is selected. We'll change this to railing, existing railing, modify, and now it's probably a little bit easier to see exactly what was existing and what's new. All of the objects that are in color obviously are new, and all of the grayed objects are now existing. And then we'll also change this. We can do this one manually. This one was already not to be detailed. That we just put existing in front of, and we'll change its color to 1. And that's where I'll stop video number 2. I was hoping to start with the drawings in this one, but it started running a little long, so I'll more than likely dedicate the next video in this series entirely to the drawings. And I'll leave a link to that in the description below. As always, thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing and feel free to share this video at your discretion. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next video.